Well, the big news, Dre, of course, is President Joe Biden coming to Ottawa for
Right.
a bilateral visit. And of course, I don't know what the over underline is for if he'll fall down the steps of his of Air Force One like he tends to do. But maybe mission was accomplished that way. I see some video of Jill holding his hand. It looks like the
Yeah.
Mongolian death grip to make sure he doesn't
Yeah.
go on a wayward version south. There he is.
He's got
And
the rail and he's got Jill. So,
that's right.
yeah.
And evidently, Joe Biden announces that he's staying in Canada during his first official visit today. What did he mean by that? Let's roll the video.
We're staying. That's the plan.
You have 10 minutes to get a deal at the northern border?
You know, Drea, why is every statement from this president so awkward? I mean, of course you're staying. It's a 2-day visit. Or did
Yeah.
some people think he was going to get on Air Force One and fly back to, I don't know, Plattsburgh, New York and watch illegal aliens come in?
Right,
to
and come
Quebec?
back.
Yeah.
I think he's proud when he has a lucid moment of where he is. And he's like, I know where I am. We're staying here. And he's so proud of himself. But yeah, I don't know. He tries to make jokes, but half the time you don't know what he's talking about. This was short and sweet. So he made it through.
You know, but you raise a good point. He didn't say, I'm staying here in the nation's capital or Ottawa, but I'm staying in Canada. It kind of fuels the American stereotype. I know not all Americans are like this, but to them, Canada is just this big pink blob on the atlas. You know, whereas you and I would say we're going to New York or Boston or Los Angeles. We'd never say we're going to the USA. It'd be a specific city in a specific
True.
state. But again,
Yeah.
here's Joe Biden. Maybe he doesn't know Ottawa is the capital of Canada.
Maybe. I think he's just happy he made it up the stairs. So, like you said. Yeah.
And we should also, well, lo and behold, crowd prevention. A crowd has been prevented from walking throughout Ottawa as Biden's visit brings intense security measures. Now, I understand he's the president of the USA, but I wonder, Drea, we know what the snowflake community is like in Ottawa. Are they going to have a meltdown over this? Because, you know, when Wellington Street was shut down, thanks to the Freedom Convoy, well, they went ballistic. I mean, we saw them testifying at the Emergencies Act and they actually used this term. Some of them are still suffering from PTSD when they see a big rig or smell diesel fumes or hear
Oh my
honk honk,
goodness.
which, of course, according to one liberal, is code for Heil Hitler. But I wonder if this is an acceptable way of shutting down the street as opposed to what they experienced a year ago, February.
Oh, I'm sure it is. As long as the legacy media gives its stamp of approval, then they're okay with it. It reminds me of out here. There was our largest freedom convoy was for the medical professionals that were kicked out of work, and there was about 7,000 people at the city hall. Everybody was enraged because it extended close to the hospital. Meanwhile, when Greta Thunberg came here and all the students were allowed to just skip school without their parents' permission and go down, they totally blocked the hospital and nobody had an issue with that. So it's
Oh,
whatever
you know
politically
something?
correct. Whatever's politically correct can shut down the roads.
I can vouch for what you're saying, Drea, because I think that was 2019, and I was in
something.
Vancouver to see
Okay.
Greta Thunberg address the crowd. And one of the perverse observations I made was the fact that after that humongous rally was done, so many of the demonstrators or her supporters just left behind their signs. So it's all in the name of climate change and environmentalism, but they have no problem littering. You know, oh well, she's gone. Okay, I'll just toss it on the grounds of City Hall, or I think it
Of
might have
course.
been the art gallery. Is that where a lot of the demonstrations happen?
Yeah, well, that is where a lot happens too.
Yes.
So it's all kind of close, but yeah, it was also down by the city hall. It was huge, so.
Yeah,
And
but
it was just okay.
it was ginormous, and even Elizabeth May was there, and she wouldn't answer any of my questions, such as, why did you get involved earlier that year in a parade and you were driving a Dodge Viper? I think that is a V10 automobile, 640 horsepower.
Wow.
No hybrid, no plug-in EV, no electrical car for Elizabeth May. Somehow she thought that was completely appropriate. So I'm just saying, if you are part of the environmentalist community, maybe you really want. Oh, there I am. Yep.
There you are.
There's the video evidence in case people.
Oh yeah,
think
you're
I'm
at the
making this
Vancouver
up.
Alley. That's definitely the Vancouver Art Gallery there. So
Yeah.
it looks like a full house.
But you know what? All I'm saying, Drea, is that if you're part of the environmentalist movement, just practice what you preach.
Yeah.
Which is to say, why don't you take public transit and buy an electrical vehicle? Why don't you pick up your own litter? I mean, it's kind of odd to see a sign saying "Save the Planet" and then it's disposed as this litter.
And then they drive off in an SUV. Like it's just.
Oh, anyways, we got off on a tangerine there. Now we have some other video. We have Biden sitting down with
More
Trudeau,
Biden.
and he talks of the Canadian-American relationship, which is kind of like we agree on some things, we disagree on other things. I don't know what he's trying to say. Let's try to make sense of it all by rolling the video.
Biden to Ottawa, back to Ottawa. It's so great to see you, Joe. Obviously, we've been working closely together over the past few years on how to build strong economies for everyone in our two countries and around the world, how to continue our fight against climate change and prepare a stronger economic future for everyone, but also how we deal with changing geopolitical security contexts and how we continue the important work of keeping our citizens safe and standing up for our values everywhere around the world. We have no greater friend and ally than the United States, and it's always a real pleasure to be able to welcome you and to sit down with you. Still.
It's been too long between meetings. It's been, I think, 2016 I was here. And, the one great thing, and I tell other world leaders I meet with when they ask about the geopolitical circumstances of the world, I said, we're lucky. We have Canada to our north, share these values. All the values are the same. We disagree in degree on things occasionally, but there's no fundamental difference in the democratic values we share. And it really makes a big difference. And so it's an honor to be here. We have a lot to talk about, and I think we're gonna get a lot done today.
Mr. President,
Thank you very much.
Canada.
They're like, just keep smiling and talking for the cameras.
Well, Drea, when Sleepy Joe Biden states something like we're going to get a lot done, that makes me shiver my timbers, because the very first thing he did when he got into the White House, if you recall, was by executive order killing the Keystone XL pipeline,
Oh, right. Yeah.
which cost so many great paying jobs, which hurt energy independence. So what do you think? And of course, you don't see blackface complaining about that, because that, perfectly fits in with his agenda in terms of the climate change file. And the bonus is he can make Biden out to be the heavy. He can say, wasn't my idea to kill Keystone XL. The president did it. Meanwhile, he's behind the scenes. He's very happy about that, because he's all about killing energy projects too. What do you think Biden means, Drea, by getting things done?
Oh, you're right. I don't think it's in the best interest of Canadians, if I had to take a guess. But, it's not a match made in heaven seeing them together, working together. I thought it was kind of comical, though, when he's like grabbing those notes. Like, I don't, he seemed so focused on trying to get those notes on. I don't know if he needed the reminder of the little piece that he said there. But, only time will tell what comes from this meeting, because usually something always comes from meetings of this. I imagine that people with Biden are sort of sitting on like pins and needles. Like, what is he going to say? Is he going to say like what we talked about, or is he going to go completely rogue? Or I don't know, is he going to spill some sort of secret? So it looks like he made it out of there okay, per se. But Trudeau is just so textbook. He's a good actor. He just says everything like it's all kosher, it's all perfect. And then I want to know what the things are that they don't agree on. I'd like to know what that is.
Well, I think one of the most fascinating files that they're going to discuss is the so-called closing of the loophole for irregular migrants. And this is the scam of the century that's going on, Drea, because there really is no loophole. Once an illegal alien is in a safe country like the U.S., once they arrive in Plattsburgh, New York, and you can't even play the mean Mr. Orange Donald Trump card, he's going to deport me. It's regime change there since 2020. The way the rules are, that you're home free. And all we have to do, but we won't do it, is put up a fence or a wall at these so-called irregular crossings. I'm even kind of pissed off with the language. Irregular? You mean illegal.
Illegal.
Yes.
It's not hard to say. Yeah.
So, when it comes to the new agreement between Biden and Trudeau aims to curb irregular immigrant border crossings, Drea, as always, the devil is in the details. My suspicion is there's going to be some kind of clause that allows for a certain number of these illegal aliens to cross over easy peasy at regular border crossings. That's what my spidey senses are telling me. So it might be a new policy, it might be a loophole closed, but still thousands of illegal aliens coming into Canada. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, you're probably right. And they definitely have to discuss that. They've made this commitment that they're going to handle it. They'll probably put up a wall with the widest door you've ever seen that never closes. You know what I mean? And so, oh my goodness. I think we have a good report. Is it coming up or is it already up? But stay tuned for the report on some of what we found on Roxham Road from the great Alexa and Lincoln. Went out. Yeah, so this is a huge issue. Everybody needs to be paying attention. And when they say that they're going to solve the issue, we need to see, are they really solving the issue?
Yeah, I just want to read the document with a fine-tooth comb, because that's what you have to do when it comes to Biden and blackface. Geez, it sounds like a vaudeville act, doesn't it? Biden and blackface. But we touched upon another wonderful file for these two. They continue to champion climate change, but I think it looks like they think they're still in the 90s, because they're referring to climate change as global warming, but I thought we got away from global warming when you find stats of global cooling instead. That's why climate change, it encompasses all angles of the environmental argument. So let's see what the Bidens had to say
Jill
on
Biden, I think.
Yes, the environment file.
Well, it's been really warm because of global warming in the United States. So
It's a strange winter.
yeah, it is.
It didn't get cold right away. It was pretty mild for most of the winter, and then it got really cold in February.
We've had on the West Coast a great deal of rain and then a lot of forest fires, and we've got a tough year. More of our forestry has burned to the ground this year than the entire state of Maryland. That's how much it was.
Once again, Drea, we see somebody who should know better conflating climate with weather. So when Sleepy Joe talks about rain and forest fires, I'm sure back in the days of the dinosaurs, when there was no such thing as Homo sapiens, I'm sure there was no rain, I'm sure there was no fire. I mean, what is he talking about?
I don't know. And if you watch a little further, Jill is also gets on the global warming thing and says that it's been like the warmest it's ever been. But California has had, record rains and it's been pretty cold there. So I don't know where they're going, but it does seem like they missed the memo. They're incorporating the whole global warming into everything. I think it's just, they say when you lie, it's hard to keep up with the lie. So I imagine when you have all these like narratives that are designed for political purposes and political gain, it starts to get really hard to keep it up, right?
Well, what I always say too, Drea, is that whether it's President Biden or Prime Minister Trudeau or Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, why don't you practice what you preach? So if we're under such dire circumstances, why don't you get around in an electric vehicle, which you're telling everybody else to use, or better yet, public transit? Why don't you put the steak back in the fridge and have a cricket or mealworm sandwich? But again,
That's the
one
real
law
test.
for the and one law for me, right?
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.